Chapter 1 does a nice job of talking about how to get into this profession and how challenging it's going to be, and talks about salaries and certifications. And I just had a nice time doing this, and I'm going to send you on some research looking for some different things and bring it in. And I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 1, Teaching in a Challenging World. Chapter 1, Teaching in a Challenging World. Okay? And it's more challenging than ever, but you will be up to it. At the beginning of each chapter has learning outcomes, and I also have these here for you. And so if you can identify these things, you should do well in the assessment of here. And with that has the particular standard that we're working on for those. Each chapter will start with this kind of a hero story about teaching, and you too can read through that if you like. And we can start here of what are those challenges of today's teachers. First of all, one of the challenges is that we set standards so much higher because it attracts good people, and we want to safeguard that. And we can make a case of how important is grade point. But one thing that most experts agree that it does play some role. We have to pass tests and stuff to get ready. The candidates are diverse in age and work experience. Some are, very young. It's a field that a lot of non-traditional people come back to. I teach at the University Center, and a number of those folks are non-traditional, have done something else, and come back to teaching. Okay, so what are the importance of teachers in today's society? Well, let's just roll up here is that they guide students through academic achievement, facilitate students' social and physical development, prepare in educational citizenry, and instill values of cooperation, and develop knowledge and skills in an information age. Okay, so here is your first input that we're going to call this number 1. And so what you'll do is you'll go to your notes and you will make a little dash, and then you'll answer each of these, and you'll tell me why each of these are important. And it's in the textbook right here of the importance, right here on the top of page 5. So I can put that on here, page 5. And then what I'm going to ask you to do every time that you insert some information into your notes, that you turn them red. You turn them red so that I can easily find them. But here's your first one from page 5 is you're going to respond to what are the importance? Why are these important? Academic achievement, social and physical development, educated citizenry, cooperation, and information age. Why are those important? Okay. So what is the public's view of teachers in schools? Well, one of the things that we say, they found this is a public opinion poll, a Gallup poll, which is supposed to be a reliable one. When they ask parents what they thought of their school, it indicates parents generally give high grades to their school's oldest child attends. And this is interesting, a steady increase from 07 up, but 79% of parents surveyed gave the school of their oldest child an A or B. I don't know the significance, and it doesn't say the significance of why the oldest child's school. But what I think is interesting is when in the same poll, looking at what we think of our schools, that we often, parents think their local school is good, but the educational system as a whole is challenged. And that's not really very well identified here. And you always wonder on polls are like research, what kind of group of cross-section people were asked. For example, where my kids attend, I would say that it would be higher than 79%. Giving the schools an A or B, I would say it would be closer to 90% of the people would say an A or B. But we also know that some of our schools where low-income kids go, those parents would give it a much lower rating. All right. So quality of teachers is of primary importance when selecting schools, and nobody would argue with that. And parents understand the importance of quality teaching for academic success. The number one thing of a student learning and being successful is the quality of the teacher. And then this is interesting, a lack of financial support is viewed as the most serious problems facing school. I'm not sure where that comes from, but the textbook does a pretty nice job of laying out why that is. But here's what I want you to do is stop now, and this is going to be your number 2 under financial support. Make a little dash, and you tell me, you put in here what you would do if you had more money for schools. Everybody agrees. Everybody, I shouldn't say agrees. Everybody whines that we don't have money for schools. But other than, here's the one you cannot say. You cannot say pay the teachers more. You have to pick something else. So you're going to get, we're going to double the amount of finance, or we're going to half again as much, as almost unlimited money to your school. What would you put the money towards if you, other than pay the teachers more? Because that's another whine that we all have, that we'd like to be paid more. I would like that, you would like that, and certainly the teachers will like that. Okay, so stop it and do number 2. Okay, and this is what I'm going to do from time to time, is I'm going to give you a say on this. Should parents have a say in picking their child's teacher? And the 2 cases here are yes and a no. Clyde Hodge and Daniel Fonder talk about this, and then what is your perspective on this issue? And I put this at the bottom of the wiki page, so you want to stop this now and go and respond after you've read this. After you've read this, respond to this here at the bottom. You simply click on mine here and put your comment here, and you have to be logged in to do that. Right? So who teaches in these challenging times? What is that profile of a U.S. teacher? Demographic area data is elusive and constantly changing. A following snapshot of education that should help you get who they are. All right, and this is laid out in our notes here. 3.2 million teachers, public schools. 400,000 in private schools. Okay, so almost 1,932,000 college and university faculty. About more than 60% are in the elementary, and there's 400 administrators and professionals, and approximately 1.25 million aides and support staff. Whew. So some criticism of this, that they're so heavy with administrators. And you add these together, the administrators and this group, and you can see it's double. Double. It's half again as much as this. And that used to be the rule, that whatever your number of teachers, it's going to take half that many more to do it. So this is about 3.7. This is about 1.7. So it is about half as many. But been a lot of discussion over the years about how many administrators it takes to run schools. Because what's interesting, of course, not it takes a lot of them, but we pay them often double what we pay the teachers, are pretty close. And I know they're important, and there's some phenomenal ones, but there's always been some criticism of that. And then this goes into teachers leaving the profession. And this is the thing up here of why they leave. The lack of support and funding and money. 36% leave that. I'm not sure why this changed so much. Very interesting, because normally why I'm questioning this is in economic hard times like we've had the last 5 years, generally that there's an influx of teachers here. But what you do is when you how research works again when you poll teachers is you give them very specific choices of what they pick, and they have to pick one of these. And so generally teachers leaving would pick this because they're not, and I don't know why the change. That seems very interesting to me. Okay, so let's go back here and talk about that. Estimated 1 in 5 teachers leave by the 3rd year to do what? Well, the number one thing is to raise children. That's very interesting. That we talk about teachers leaving the profession, but this is the number one reason, is to raise their children. And then, of course, the next one is to obtain advanced degrees. Here's some to do something else. And then this is down here farther. Other reasons and stuff. So that's why people leave. And you knew that. You could have made that list yourself. This is a different one up here from Pew. Classroom number reasons. Some leave to raise children. Some decide to return full-time to advanced degrees. Those kinds of things. Teacher supply and demand. Now let's talk about that. Many factors influence the number of teachers at a school district needs and can afford. And I would agree. Year include budget, number of students in school, ratio of teachers, those kinds of things. And this is the percent of teachers leaving in 3 years. And notice the higher amount of the private schools. Interesting to see if they offer something about that, of why the private schools have a higher leave rate. So here's the. I'm going to have you come back to this. And this will be your number 3 to enter. And this is from page 8. Page 8. You tell me why you think the private teachers leave at a higher rate. Why do the private school teachers leave at a higher rate? You respond to that here as number 3. And again, make sure you highlight it red so I can find it. All right. So who are the available teachers? Available teachers are this. And again, you could have done this. Available teachers are 2. The new teachers and the returning teachers. And then what is the teacher demand? The ratios the district has and the shortages of diverse backgrounds. And then shortage of school funds limits the number of teacher schools can hire. And then teachers as successful entrepreneurs, some have very good backgrounds then to go into other things. Teachers are very desirable employees in other fields and often choose to stay. And this is a little irritating to me when we continue to talk about how they can go make money someplace else, make better money. Yes, but still what many teachers desire, not only their love of teaching like you and me, but the schedule and the flexibility you have in teaching, your summers off, holidays, those kinds of things. And again, often not a part of the conversation because so often we talk about how hard this is, but many teachers like you and me will desire this profession because of the life you can have beside it versus people that are in business or something that travel and things like that. So first you have your new teachers, and that's you and me, mostly you. And then returning teachers are the 2 groups to pick from. And with that, returning teachers can also be teachers moving. A number of licensed teachers drop out of the profession for a time but return later in life. Okay. So you would have that, new teachers, but also somebody that's coming back to it later in life. We estimate these teachers constitute about 20% of new hires each year are somebody coming back to it. So this is the teacher man, student to teacher ratio. And again, I'm going to come back to this, and you no, this is good. We'll just keep going here. This is interesting. Here is the percentage of change in enrollment in public schools. And I'd like to see where this is from. The Department of Education. Really interesting. And here's why I'm critical of this. For one thing, this book is brand new, and the data here is from 1907 or 2007-8. It's 5 years ago. But for example, here's a decrease of less than 5% in North Dakota. But if you're alive and listening at all, you know what they have in North Dakota now, oil. And that state is increasing in population so fast it can't keep up. So this is, for the year 2013, completely inaccurate. And then South Dakota, and this be true about South Dakota. This is interesting that California does not have the highest increase. Texas has the biggest increase. People are flocking to Texas. And mostly because there's tax structure. A lot of these states you see that are blue is people flocking to them because of tax structure. These are light blue up here, decreases in the east. The taxes are so high. Obviously, like Michigan, there's bankruptcies and stuff that they've run their estates in the ground financially, and so the schools are really hurting. So as far as enrollment in public schools, you can see the migration, and it almost exclusively follows tax lines. People going to other states because so much less tax, and the states are solvent. But that's not going to be part of this discussion. These authors don't want to talk about that. Then the location of the school district in a given area is also important. Okay, I'm going to come back here and ask you what that has to do with it. And this is going to be your number 4. You want to stop and do this, but what does location have to do with it? And that's from page 10. Page 10. All right. All right. And then what is the teaching field shortages? And again, you could make this list. And I'm going to ask you to participate in this. And that is this: special ed, bilingual teachers, math and science, and ESL teachers. And this will be your number 5 is Y. Number 5, stop this and put in here Y for each of these. And you can take this is number 5, right from this on page 10 also. It gives you a spiel of why. So if you'll give me a synopsis. So that's number 5. Stop it and do it now. So this is going to tell you about the makeup of students and teachers in schools. And this is from the government again, is do this. And why I point that out, because the government tends to sometimes have alternative motives, that they aren't always wanting to release things. They want things to slant the way they want them to slant. I'm sorry, I'm going to be very critical of anything that the government puts up here in your textbook. But this is one area here that they're on, and that is, here's the preschool, the K-12 students, and the teachers, and they're trying to make a case of how the group isn't, they should be proportionate. You'd like to see it if you got 10%, or here 15% of your students are African American, that 15% of your teachers would be. And you see all the way across the white, obviously the teachers are white disproportionately. I'm trying to make that. I know in the past there's been schools in South Dakota that have tried desperately to hire minority teachers, and it's just, they find it very hard. And one thing, of course, is there's not near as many that are certified to be teachers as the white people, and of course it's white women predominantly. And second of all, when we find those minority teachers, they're not interested in moving to South Dakota to teach, because obviously this demand is all over the United States. So they can really have their pick. So if you're a minority, a certified teacher, you're going to teach any place, anything you want to teach, because the demand for diversity in our teachers. Okay. This is about school funds, the shortage of school funds, new teacher hires. Goes across here. How many we'll need. Just because increase in those areas. This is on the teaching as a profession. What are your professional responsibilities? Well, develop professional commitments and dispositions. Dispositions, okay? And so you get that one. Let me see what we've got here. Professional responsibilities are enthusiasm, continuous learning, All children can learn, communication, collaborative partnership, and conducting research. Okay, again, here, this is your number 6. Why? You take each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points, and tell me why those are important to the profession. And it takes you through those right here on page 12 and 13. Okay. And so that's, I'm going to say, page 12 and 13. Make sure you turn them red. Thank you. This is number 6, page 12 and 13. Stop it now. Then you have to have some professional knowledge in the field. Authentic assessments is one of them in real-life settings. Again, it takes you through these, what this is all about, and I'm going to ask you, again, this is your number 7. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to say, why are these important? And again, on page 13. And turn them red. Professional knowledge. So with the professional knowledge, you also have professional skills. And you can easily spew these, and let me take you here. There's professional knowledge and 7, and here's number 8, and this will be a little bit different. Number 8 is going to be that you will learn these and be able to spew them. What do I do as a teacher? I manage classrooms, motivate students, work with parents and colleagues, and assess learning. And so your number 8 is going to be, you are going to send me an email stating that. This is number 8. And you're going to say in the line, let me give you a better one here. This is how I want you to do it. So here's what it's going to look like. You'll send me an email. This will be the address, fegant@gmail.com. In the subject line, you will put EDFN338, and then you'll write me this note. Hi, Dr. Fegan. As a teacher, my main responsibilities will be to manage the classroom, motivate students, work with parents and colleagues, and assess learning. Okay, and so that's all you have to do, and then send that off, and check that off here. You sincerely, and then you sign it. All right. So that's how you're going to do that. Okay. Let's move on. Page 14. You can do that if you want, but I'm going to start with the quality assurance. Different professions have different means of providing quality control over those that enter remain in their profession. And many, like you as teachers, have to pass some kind of a license exam to get in, like law, medicine, dentistry, and now you, teachers. Okay, these CPAs have to take exams. Mechanics now have to be certified. Everybody wants them certified, and so that's what we do with you. It used to be simply that you had a degree was your certification, but that's changed, and you are part of the cutting edge of that. So what are the quality assurance things? Well, first there's accreditation. Accreditation programs with standards established accredited agency. Like, for example, we are accredited at DSU through NCATE. Has a new name now, but it's an accrediting body that says, DSU, you have met all of the requirements to be a certified teacher training program. Okay, and so that's what that is. Okay, and then there's regional accreditation. 6 regional accreditation bodies offer accreditation to K-12. One of these that's most common is the North Central. It's called the NCA here. Covers large number of states in upper central part of the country. And this is ours here. University level is an NCATE. Is our accreditation program. And then there's this one. Teacher Education Accreditation Council. Okay. And then there's licensure, and I'm going to ask you to put these in, but I'm just going to talk about them first. State teacher certification, and now they're performance-based licensing, meaning that now you take a test, but you have to perform. and you are granted a license, not from the university. The only group that can grant you and me a teaching license, a teaching certification, is the state. And every state you want to teach in, you have to have a license from that state. So if you want to teach in South Dakota, the Department of Education has to grant you a teaching certification. DSU grants you a degree, or USD, or whatever your home school is, they grant you a degree, but they can make recommendation to the state, but it's up to you to apply for that certificate, teaching certificate. We require you, specific college courses and do student teaching and pass the praxis tests. But many of them have this performance-based that you have to have a portfolio of things that you know how to do. Right. Then here is the set of standards for coming through that program. It's called INTASC, Interstate New Teacher Assessment Support Consortium, INTASC. Okay, then the praxis. And then this is going to take you through the core principles of INTASC. And we have these on our walls at DSU, as I'm sure other ones do too, but you'll find a standard under each one. And this is what this whole book is trying to facilitate for you, is helping you learn these standards, these INTASC standards that you should have in a college of education. Content, professional responsibility. And then there's advanced certifications. National Board of Professional Testing. If you want to get that. It talks about how to do that. And standards. So let me jump back over here. There's accreditation, licensure, advanced certification, standards, and then No Child Left Behind. Let me just finish that with No Child Left Behind, where that came from. Here's the standardized test and their thing. Technology. The No Child Left Behind was by the last president. Actually, authorized version of earlier elementary. This. And it's very interesting to me because the current president assured us teachers when he was running the first time that the first thing he would do was overturn this, that this would go away. And for some reason it hasn't, but that was an attractive part that would be the end of No Child Left Behind, because its big thing was accountability. Stronger accountability. Here was their 4 things for No Child Left Behind. Stronger accountability for student learning results. So accountability, increased educational flexibility and local control, expanded educational options for parents, and emphasize on using teaching methods that have been proven. That's what that was. All right, so here's what I'm going to have you do back here, is take each of these, and you have to bring these in. Let me back up a few pages here. Okay, first of all, accreditation. First of all is NCATE. That's one. And Tech. Okay, and then your licensure, state certification, performance-based licensing, that's okay. But here, INTASC, and you're going to be able, I want you to be able to know what each of these are. As the test will, you'll have to discern these in the test. Okay, and the praxis. Not only what they stand for, but what are they? And here's your advanced accreditation, NBPTS. And then these standards. and then No Child Left Behind, the 4 national goals for this. So we won't worry about that. So this will be your number 9. Is for each of these, tell what they are and what they have to do with this, and then make sure you turn them red so I can find them. Number 9. Improving by reflecting. And I can remember when this first came into play. I was in grad school about 20 years ago. When I was in grad school, this just came onto the scene, this reflective. Physicians proudly claim to practice medicine throughout their careers. Many people have suggested that teachers should borrow this concept and proudly undertake to practice teaching throughout their careers. Implies that teachers, like physicians, should constantly strive to improve their performance. It provides you with a practice. Well, first of all, a systematic observation. Sees every opportunity to a variety of activities, the world of education. Should attempt to do summer employment that allows you to work with young people. Okay, so it's just observing, and then informal note-taking, and then analysis of practice reflection, reflective journaling. And here's a little experience of that. This is all in reflective. What was the term we used? Reflecting by reflecting. And folio and portfolio development. Okay. And so let's come back to see. And again, I put these out here for you, and about a one-liner for each of these, and I believe this is number 10. And one line about each of these, what they are and what they have to do with improving your teaching. One line for each. That's number 10. Stop and do that now. Beginning and developing your career. Well, first of all, becoming licensed. All teachers must obtain a license before they can legally teach in the public schools. Many private schools also require their teachers to be licensed. Each state determines its own licensure. And again, the state is the one that sets up the requirements to be licensed. Not DSU, not USD, not SDSU, the state. And they can set the requirements however they want to. So first there's licensure tests. What's the one that you take? Well, probably the praxis tests. And in South Dakota you have to take it 3 different portions of it. Okay. And you search for that position, research salaries and benefits. Let's go look at that. First of all, searching should begin about employment early in their careers. College placement office is a common one. And all the universities have a placement office that helps you with this search. There's a handbook here from Employment Education. Has suggestions. School districts typically would like applicants to present evidence that responds to the following questions. And a lot of this is in the application. Can the candidate do the job? Will the candidate do the job? Will the candidate fit in? Will the candidate express well what he or she wants in a professional assignment? And does the district vision match the candidate's vision? And so seriously, this has gotten to be a more complicated process for a lot of schools, is making these matches, especially in our big schools. That you see a really good candidates come in for teaching jobs, but your challenge is, where do they fit in your system? And will they be a good match for your district? Okay, and then salaries in a changing world. Teaching salaries vary considerably from state to state, from district to district, and you know that. And one reason for the higher salaries in some districts is the difference in the cost of living from one to another. However, cost of living alone does not explain the difference. Some states and districts view teachers as professionals, have high expectations for them, and support them through mentoring, professional development, multiple assessments to determine effective these. So each state's Board of Education is this. And can I push on this a little bit? Some states, this right here, teacher professionals. Okay, what that's implying here that I don't like, that some don't. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. There's no research here supporting that. That's just their contention. That I assure you that every state views their teachers as professionals and have high expectations for them and stuff. And I think it has nothing to do with the salary, but these authors, that plays into their narrative, so that's the way they're stating that. And I think that's unprofessional on their part to make that statement, but there'll be a lot of those statements in this book. Okay, I'm done with that rant there. All right. So what the salary difference is, each salary's Board of Education is an agent of the state and is therefore empowered to set salary levels for the employees of the school district. Each school system typically has a salary schedule, and this is what is getting to be a little contentious here, is this salary schedule. Because it outlines the minimum maximum salary for levels, depending where you're at. For example, getting a teacher with a bachelor's degree might be paid $35,000, and one with a master's degree be paid $42,000, and that's starting out. There could be that kind of difference in a district. Teachers with 20 years of experience might be paid $50,000 to $76,000, and I'm guessing, this isn't documented here, but they from the states they can find, this is the ranges that they found. Okay. So if you've taught for 20 years, you could make as high as 76. And there's a chart someplace that shows this. I want to say like New York pays the most. My wife has a first cousin that teaches in New York that has, she's been teaching close to 30 years now, but she makes more than that, I think. She's a kindergarten teacher. In South Dakota, 50 would be kind of a high water mark in South Dakota. Maybe 60. All full-time teachers receive additional benefits that, when added to their salary, constitute their goals. Comp package to pursue your first teaching position will require about these benefits: hospitalization, medical insurance, and a lot of I think schools are going to start taking that away with the new federal healthcare law. I think a lot of us are going to get dumped onto this federal system on the state systems, just because it'll be cheaper for the schools than providing it. And then this has been a big one. The retirement benefits is an attractive thing. I think is what you get from retirement, and the working conditions. And okay, so let me go back to the notes here. Searching. First, you get your license, and this is number 11. And here, who grants the license? Just put that there. That's all you got to put. Number 11. Who grants that license? Then you search for a teaching position, and it gave you some ideas on how to do that, through your placement office and stuff. So you talk about that. Research salaries and benefits. Understand working conditions, and improve and develop experience and renew your license. Right. Okay, so here's this is going to be your number 12 right here, and that is you are going to research salaries. And so here's the link to the Sioux Falls School District, and here's what I want you to do. You're going to stop this, and you're going to go get this and find it. On their website, they have a link to their salary schedule. They have a link to their salary schedule. You are to find the salary schedule and only bring two things back from it. One, what would you be making first day if you were just coming in with your undergrad degree? What would be your starting salary in the Sioux Falls School District? And what's the most you could make if you've been there a lot of years and have a lot of degrees? What is the most money listed on their salary schedule? That'd be number 12. Working conditions. This is interesting here. I was reading about the working conditions. Almost everyone feels better about his or her work when the environment is supportive and conducive to high quality output. The same is true for teachers. Like other factors in education, working conditions differ greatly from school to school. Within a single school district, the conditions can change dramatically across neighborhoods. Some schools are beautiful, sprawling campuses with the latest technology. Unfortunately, in at least some other schools, toilets are backed up, paint is peeling off the walls, classes are held in storage rooms, administrators are repressive. Some teachers who begin their careers in this second type of setting either aggressively seek assignments in other schools or possibly leave the profession. And so that is, it goes on down here and talk about some of the other things that could be influenced. Let me just read that to you. Teachers work under very different conditions from those who are other professionals. Secondary and middle school teachers usually work with students 45 to 55-minute time periods with brief breaks between. Elementary and early childhood teachers are usually in a self-contained class in which they have few breaks, and they even have no supervised student. They have to supervise students during the recess and lunch periods, which is very common. They have little time during the day to work with colleagues to plan or those types of things. Many schools teachers will have limited access to telephones, computer support in their work. And here in South Dakota, I think for the most part, none of this is true. We have very good schools. I've only been in one school building that was about to close that I thought was too dilapidated for kids to be in. Other than that, I've never been in anything but very good schools in South Dakota. So you don't have to do anything with working conditions. And then improving your experience. Some have these induction programs. You're going to write about that. And mentoring. Okay, and so I'll put that on here. This is number 13. Induction. What is that? And what does it have to do with you? And mentoring. You are to write something about those in here. Those two. Number 13. And then developing as a teacher, it gives you a renew your license. And in South Dakota at this point, it could be changing, but it's still every 5 years you have to get 6 additional credits of some kind in your field. So it goes on here. Most states require teaching license to renew periodically. Professional license is usually not granted until after several years. Some states require a master's degree. A few require the successful completion of a portfolio with videotapes of teaching that are judged by experienced teachers. And to retain a license throughout one's career, continuing professional is probably going to be required. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Here's number 14. I've got a link here for you to the South Dakota Department of Ed webpage, and on there you have to tell me what we have to do in South Dakota to renew our license. You obviously have to have your degree, and you have to have passed the praxis too, but it lists a third thing you have to do to renew your license. Tell me that here, number 14. What do you have to do to renew? Stop now and do it. All right. Challenges of becoming a great educator. What are those challenges? Has a lot of good information in here. It talks about this here, this Phi Kappa high performance. Developed a list of those qualities, and here they are. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this. I'm going to clip this and give it to you, and I'm going to ask you to learn how to insert it under this last slide. I'm going to put this on the web page. Here's what I'm going to do so that you can have this. I'm going to take my Jing, and I'm going to clip a copy of this, including the credit for it, like this, and I'm going to capture it, and I'm going to say, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to expect you to import it. And here's, okay, and now watch what I do. I've clipped it. I'm coming here. I'm going to link it in here. Right, like this. I'm going to move that down a little bit, and I'm going to put this file in here. First I'll upload it. I'm going to save it. And now you should be able to right mount it, save it, and come down to that spot and insert that in to the notes right here. Then you'll have it. And you can certainly keep it and post it on your web page, whatever you want, but it's the thing that this authors have identified as things of being a great teacher. A bunch of, what did it say here? Develop this list. Okay, here is the summary, which will be very helpful to you. Okay. Chapter 1, teaching in challenging times.